Many entrepreneurs start their businesses believing that growth will eventually bring freedom, more clients, more revenue, more opportunities. And at first, that's exactly what it feels like: progress, momentum, possibility. But at a certain point, something unexpected begins to happen. The business starts feeling heavier, more decisions, more responsibility, more pressure. What once felt exciting starts feeling complicated. And leaders begin asking a quiet question they rarely say out loud: why does this feel harder than when I started? Today, we're talking about one of the least discussed causes of founder burnout: not effort, not discipline, not motivation, structure. Because when structure doesn't grow alongside the business, leadership pressure quietly multiplies.
You're listening to the Off Balance Podcast, where faith, family, and business collide. Hosted by Demming, Doctor of Business Administration, business coach, and resilience expert. Each episode features real-life conversations to help entrepreneurs like you build resilience and lead with confidence.
Welcome back to Off Balance. I'm your host, Dr. Brooks. This podcast is for entrepreneurs and professionals who want clarity, structure, and sustainable growth in the way they lead and build their businesses. Throughout this season, we've been examining patterns that quietly create pressure inside organizations. We've talked about scaling too early, the founder bottleneck, HR risk, motivation versus structure, and operational clarity. All of those topics connect to the same underlying issue. Businesses become difficult to lead when structure doesn't keep pace with growth. And today we're discussing something many founders experience but struggle to explain: founder burnout. But not the version people usually talk about, not the hustle culture version, not the you need better time management version, the leadership version. Because many founders aren't burned out from working hard, they're burned out from carrying responsibility that should have been distributed long time ago. Burnout is often explained as a personal issue. Maybe you're working too many hours, maybe you're not setting enough boundaries, maybe you need better productivity tools, maybe you just need to take a vacation. Those explanations sound reasonable, but they often miss something important. Many founders are burned out because the structure of the business still depends on them. Every decision, every client escalation, every operational adjustment, every unexpected issue. And when responsibility flows consistently to one person, that person slowly begins carrying the emotional weight of the entire organization. At first, it feels manageable. In the early stages of building something, that level of involvement is necessary. You are the strategist, the decision maker, the problem solver. But as the business grows, complexity increases. More client means more expectations. More employees means more coordination. More revenue means higher stakes. And without structure, that complexity flows back to the founder. And over time, that pressure begins to compound. There is a leadership paradox that many entrepreneurs experience. Growth creates opportunity, but it also creates complexity: more communication, more coordination, more decisions. If structure grows alongside the business, that complexity is distributed across the organization. But if structure does not grow at the same pace, the founder absorbs the pressure personally. Questions come to them, approvals come to them, problems come to them, and slowly, without realizing it, the founder becomes the operating system of the business. Everything runs through them. Not because they want it that way, not because they're controlling, but because the structure never evolved beyond the early stages of the company. This is where many leaders begin feeling something that surprises them. The business is succeeding. Revenue is increasing, clients are happy, but leadership feels heavier than expected, and that weight often comes from structural dependency. So, from an HR perspective, burnout often begins with unclear roles and decision authority. Employees function best when three things are clear: responsibilities, authority, expectations. When those three things exist, people operate confidently. They make decisions, they take ownership, they solve problems. But when those elements are unclear, something predictable happens. Employees escalate decisions upward. Where responsibilities aren't clearly defined, people seek clarification. When processes aren't documented, they rely on the founder's guidance. When expectations aren't clearly communicated, they check before acting. And each of those moments feels small: a quick question, a quick approval, a quick decision. But over time, those small interruptions accumulate. Constant interruption creates decision fatigue. Decision fatigue creates exhaustion, not because the leader lacks resilience, but because the system is asking them to carry too much cognitive load. Structure protect leaders from unnecessary decisions. Let me show you how this often appears in real businesses. Because founder burnout rarely shows up all at once. It usually develops slowly through everyday decisions. The first example is the constant approval loop. In some businesses, every small decision still requires the founder. An employee drafts an email before sending it, they check with the founder. A client asks for a small adjustment, the employee checks with the founder. A marketing idea comes up, the employee checks with the founder. Individually, these moments seem small, but when they happen dozens of times per day, the founder becomes the approval system for the entire organization. And by the end of the day, they are mentally exhausted from decisions that should never have required their involvement. Next up, the founder has unintentionally trained the team to ask them first. Whenever a question comes up, the founder quickly answers it. It feels efficient, it feels helpful, but over time, that habit removes the team's incentive to think through solutions themselves. Instead of asking, "What do you recommend?" the founder simply provides the answer. And gradually, the team stops exercising independent judgment, not because they lack capability, but because the system taught them that the founder will decide anyway. Last, we have the invisible processes. Processes exist, but only in the founder's head. How clients are onboarded, how issues are escalated, how quality is evaluated, how decisions are made. The founder understands things instinctively because they built the business, but the team has never seen them written down. So, whenever something unexpected happens, employees turn to the founder for guidance, not because they want to, but because the knowledge hasn't been transferred yet. And when these three patterns exist together: approvals, constant questions, and undocumented processes, leadership pressure increases quickly. The founder becomes the center of the organization, and that's when the business starts feeling heavier than it should. I once worked with a founder whose business was growing steadily. Revenue was increasing, her clients were satisfied. From the outside, everything looked successful. But internally, she felt constantly overwhelmed. Every day, her inbox filled with questions from her team: scheduling questions, client decisions, operational adjustment, marketing approvals. At first, she believed the solution was simple. She just needed to work harder. But when we analyzed the situation, the issue became clear. Roles were never clearly defined, processes were never documented, decision thresholds had never been established. So employees escalated everything to the safest place: her. Not because they were incapable, but because the system trained them to. Once we define responsibilities, documented workflows, and clarified decision authority, something remarkable happened. The questions slowed down, the interruptions decreased. And for the first time in months, she had time to think strategically again. The workload didn't change, the structure did. So, from a coaching perspective, founder burnout often carries an emotional component as well. Many founders unconsciously attach their value to being needed, being the fixer, being the problem solver, being the person everyone depends on. Letting go of operational control can feel uncomfortable. It can feel risky. It can feel like losing importance, but leadership eventually requires a shift. You move from doing the work to designing the system that allows the work to happen without you. The shift is not about doing less, it's about thinking differently. When leaders stay trapped in daily operations, their capacity remains limited. But when leaders build systems, capacity expands because leadership is no longer about carrying everything. It becomes about building something that functions beyond one person. So, from a faith perspective, this is where stewardship becomes important. Stewardship is not just about effort, it's about management, managing time, managing resources, managing responsibility. When everything flows through one person, stewardship becomes difficult because leadership was never meant to carry every operational task. Structure allows responsibility to be shared, and shared responsibility allows the mission to grow. When systems are strong, people can operate confidently within their roles. And when responsibility is distributed wisely, leaders can focus on vision rather than constant supervision. So the real question becomes, how do you reduce leadership pressure without slowing the business down? The answer isn't working harder, it's strengthening structure. Document processes, define roles, clarify decision authority, establish expectations. When people understand what they own and how success is measured, they operate with confidence. And when decisions move outward instead of upward, leadership pressures decreases dramatically. Strong structure creates independence. Independence creates capacity. And capacity allows businesses to grow without overwhelming the people building them. If you're listening to this episode and realizing that your business may be creating unnecessary pressure, the next step is identifying where structure needs to improve. That's exactly what we do inside the Business and HR Clarity Audit. During that session, we examine where decision dependency exists, where roles and responsibilities need clarification, and what structural adjustments will reduce leadership pressure. Because growth should increase capacity, not exhaustion. You can book your audit by clicking the link in the description of this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I want you to tune in the next episode because we're going to be talking about leadership challenges that many founders face, why hiring people often fails to solve operational problems. Until then, remember this: burnout is rarely about working too hard. More often, it's a signal that structure hasn't caught up with growth. And leadership clarity is what allows businesses to expand without overwhelming the people building them. Talk soon.
Thanks for listening. Please rate this episode and share it with your family and friends. To learn more about your host or to book a coaching session, visit www.brooksdemming.com. Until next time, rise.
Hi, I'm Tiffany of Tiffany Brown Designs. With over 20 years of creative experience across industries, I create and elevate brands one design at a time through intentional graphic and brand design, polished film and video editing, and creative artistry. Even the music you're hearing right now, that was produced by me. I also create custom tracks for websites, intros and outros, and content. So what are you waiting for? Visit TiffanyCBrownGD.com and let's bring your vision to life.